Fight Time Network.
Welcome back to Fight Time Network, everybody. This weekend, pretty much you could say, is not just a casual MMA fighter weekend. Everybody who loves the sport's really going to be watching this weekend. It's a little lower end of card with big names, but still great skilled athletes we get to look forward to fighting this Saturday in Vegas. Headliner did change. Tatsuro Taira was supposed to take on Al Bazzi. Al Bazzi is out in Hong Sung Park, coming in undefeated, putting his undefeated record on the line against the Tatsuro Taira. How you doing, Lee?
Doing fantastic, man. We had a fabulous weekend. Check out myself and Brendon. We were able to collab with Big Show Picks, man. That was
That
a
was
great
dope.
fun old time. We cashed some stuff on our side of things, man. We've got Guzgoff, our big 6 unit play. We cashed with Rainer de Ritter. Brendon put those two together in a parlay, man. He made a lot of money. And we move on. LFA was sort of a tanking, but guys, when you're doing this week in and week out, almost at a professional level, you're gonna lose some weekends. But
Facts.
the main thing is that you're consistently putting your money in the right spots over time. So even the when you have a few bad losses, you're still in the profitable region when you look back over the year. And that's exactly what we've done. We've cashed like 8, 9, 6 unit plays in a row. We had a good one that got pushed for a fight cancellation on LFA, and the bets that were left, unfortunately, we lost them. But we did really good in the UFC nonetheless, and we're rolling on to new business.
Oh yeah, and if any of you did miss last week, Rene de Ritter beat Whitaker in a everybody, a lot of people say close decision. It was close enough. It really could have went either way. The judges are pretty sporadic sometimes, but Rene de Ritter really showed great skill. Got his win over Whitaker. Kind of excited to see who he's going to fight next. But let's get this breakdown started. We got 6 fights in Vegas in the Apex this Saturday. Starting out with Danny Silva, 10-1, coming up against Kevin Vallejos, 15-1, Lee. I think I went back and watched Vallejos versus Gene Silva. He's 21 years old. He didn't look bad until Gene Silva's paced it and stopped it all, and then he just couldn't kind of keep up. And Gene Silva kept putting that pressure on him. Then he gets a win against Tig, and then Choi, which Choi, who knows where he's going to end up. I think he's 10-8 or 10-6 now. Danny Silva looked great enough. Lucas Almeida was almost the next upcoming star, featured possible prospect. He ends up beating him in a split decision. Beats Joshua Kulabau right before that. Pacheco right before that. Danny Silva, I went back and watched one of his LFA fights too. He kind of throws pressure and he throws a lot, running kind of the way Nick Diaz used to do it. Like never really threw a whole hard shot, never looking for that one shot, just oh man, the word I can't even think of. Punches and bunches, Nick Diaz styles, kind of Danny Silva. But he's coming up
Yeah.
against a great boxer, Vallejos. What's your thoughts on this, Lee?
You know what? I am going with Danny Silva on this one from the fact that the line is completely off, and that's
I agree
that's the
on that.
sports betting side of things. There, when you see a line that is incorrect like that, that there must be some sort of mistake from the sports book. That like because this should be far much closer. Danny Silva at 10-1 against a 15-1 should not be a plus 400 underdog
Yeah.
by any means. And when you look back at Danny Silva's wins, like I mean, you've got Lucas Almeida. Lucas Almeida is was what 15-2 when he fought, or 15-3. Josh Kulabau was 11-2. Angel Pachaco was 7-1. And then
Right.
Kevin Vallejo has been on a run, but I mean, Choi kind of had a losing record, man. Guys like 11-7. Tag was undefeated, but really not tested in the UFC. So Silva's gotten past two UFC tested guys
Yeah.
with very, very good records. And you know what? It is hard to swing. It's you know what? It's hard to win a fight, but to swing two out of the three judges in a close decision fight. I think it's a difficult to accomplish that. And I mean, ultimately, Silva's done it twice in a row. So, with all those facts presenting themselves, along with just Silva's, prowess and aggression, I certainly think that Silva has a far better argument than plus 400 in that fight, which leads me to bet on Danny Silva this weekend.
Yeah, that's what I'm taking this weekend. I'll get the slid up. That is BK's free bet this week. Follow us on every social media channel. I'll give you that one for free. And I more than likely will hook you up this weekend too. But I caught him at a plus 310, $160 to win 500 Lee. That's my get this weekend.
Yeah, he also has the height and reach advantage,
Yeah.
man. Taller. He's got a 70-inch reach. Like I said, Vallejo's, he's got coming off a win off Choi, but Choi's like one in his last four, where Silva's coming off that win of Almeida, where, Almeida got that huge upset knockout his fight before Silva, and everybody was banking on him. Silva was a major underdog going into that against Almeida, I believe, as well. And I mean, Silva's never been taken down in the UFC. He lands half of his takedowns. He's got 100% takedown defense, and he's got almost 50% takedown accuracy. I think Silva with his height, he's going to control the range. He's going to find ways to win moments in the fight, likely getting the right moment for the takedown to chew up the clock. I certainly think we could see Danny Silva getting a decision win.
Yep, that's what I'm going to. I'm on the dog on this one. Hell yeah. And let's keep this party rolling. Coming up next, we got two old school veterans meeting up in the UFC. Neil Magny, 29 and 14, against Elijah Dos Santos, 25, 9 and 1. Neil Magny's 37, Dos Santos 38. Oh, the thing I look at here, Lee, is I know Neil Magny's coming off two straight knockout losses, if I'm not correct. One against Pratas, one against Morales. Before that, he beats your old boy up from Canada, Mike Malott.
Ah,
Before that. But then you got Mikado Gary right after that. And then he beat Phil Rowe. He did lose Mikado Gary. Coming off two straight knockout losses. Dos Santos coming off a knockout, or pretty sure knockout loss to Injaquani.
yeah, second round.
Second round. Beat some other unknown names. Beat Nurmagomedov back in the day. Pushing 38 now. I really want to go Neil Magny, but I don't know because I haven't really, know, Dos Santos could go a full 3 rounds at 38. Magny might still be able to, and he might do that stuff where he just controls them the whole time, maybe slip a couple punches here and there. But Dos Santos is going to be a really big problem for him, for Magny, when he tries to get him to the ground. He's been fighting in the UFC for a very long time, and he still has a 68% takedown defense.
Yeah, but you got to remember, man, 2023, as far as the way it may seem, is only a couple of years ago, and that would put him at 36. And he went to a majority decision with Renat Farkhmanov, who is a young gun, up and coming prospect in the UFC. He got that first round KO against Zach Scroggin. He went the distance with Randy Brown, and Jukwani's knocking out everybody that,
Yeah.
Chitty Bang Bang makes it, so it is no shock that he knocked out Njokuani. But people thought there was a possibility going into that fight that Dos Santos might be able to give something to Njokuani. Obviously, that wasn't the possibility.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to bet on Magny at this stage of his career. We've seen him get the upset, obviously, over Mike Malott. He's given Daniel Rodriguez his only submission loss. However, he's just not able to put it together consistently. He's two in his last five, and with coming off of two first round finishes, top prospects nonetheless. But
Right.
I think he's going to be hesitant going in. I think Zaleski has that whatever it is that still keeps him going at 38 to just not let it bother him. And I think Zaleski is going to have a better reaction to coming off a knockout loss than Magny is. And I think that's going to result in a victory. I really like Zaleski, and I see the submission by Zaleski as a formidable option too. I really like that.
Yeah. I say I really like want Neil Magny to win just because I've been a big fan over him over the years. But the way Dos Santos kind of fights, the way he's going to want to stand there and throw hands, Neil Magny's just kind of dealt with Morales and Prates.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a little older, but Neil Magny's also older too, so his reaction time's off. It really doesn't matter the age of Dos Santos. It just matters what he's going to bring for 2 rounds. And he, like you said, just a couple years ago, he went 3 rounds with Randy Brown. I mean, Randy Brown pushed a pretty decent pace, bunch on the feet, not too much of takedowns nowadays, but I'd go with Dos Santos here, and he really doesn't have that bad. He's minus 198, so definitely prospects for parlays this week. I just don't feel like Neil Magny has the hands to be able to get respect from Dos Santos and him just not keep walking him down. Moving on to Carol Rosa, 18-7 against Nora Cornale or Cornell. How you say it? Is it Cornell?
I think it's Cornale, but
Cornale, 9-2.
we'll find out with Jordan Martinez in the Apex.
Right. Facts, dude.
Leave it to him. Leave it to him.
He's the professional here, y'all.
Yeah,
Keep it
yeah.
up. But I'm coming in here. I really like what Carol Rosa has brought to the cage recently. But if Cornali's going to come out and really wanting to hunt her here, if she can't keep her momentum off of her quick, she's not a bad underdog play this week.
Yeah,
Cornali for me.
I
Just
could,
the
I could
stylistic matchup we got going here. What's your thoughts, Lee?
I couldn't agree with you more. Cornali is a live underdog, and she's probably one of the highest outputs that I'm putting up for Fight Time Network up in our winnable. Carol Rosa's 3 in her last 5. Cornali's only lost to Jacqueline Cavalcante, who is
Mhm.
never been defeated inside the UFC. Cornali has finishes in 2 of her last 3 appearances in the UFC, but Carol Rosa has never found a finish. Cornali is on a 3-1 run, which includes victories over Jocelyn Edwards, who seems to be on a run herself lately. You know, Cornell has had one of the highest striking defenses in the UFC and is very efficient with her own. She can counter, and if there's a scramble, I think Rosa's going to be in trouble. You know, she's like Cornelli is likely to end up on the winning side of those scrambles, and that could very well lead to her getting another submission victory. I think Cornelli can likely win this matchup if she stays true to her striking defense
She
and
does.
finds a way to get her grappling enforced on Rosa.
I could not agree with you more. Truthfully, yeah, you just said all that. Mm, I'd be more worried to go with Rosa again beating Cornale if Rosa had a more of a submission game. But she really hasn't had any submission win, all decision wins, even dating back all the way to 2020. If she had a couple more submission wins in there, just because I know, like you said, Cornale is going to try to create scrambles, things like that, move forward, put the pressure on, which usually leads to scrambles because she's coming forward with the takedowns. But definitely a live underdog this week, y'all, if you want to check her out. Plus 154, good odds. Rosa coming in at a minus 185 this week. Yeah, I just feel like Rosa's good. It's just going to cause her problems, just the way she fights.
Absolutely.
100%. Let's look into that. But I'll go with Cornale. I'll support the underdog this week.
I
We ain't
think
got
she's
no
glad.
odds on decisions or anything like that, so don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. It is not
Plus
Thursday yet.
150 underdog. That's the only thing you need, man. You get 1.5 times your money back. It's safe. And I certainly think we see
And it
Cornell.
scares you a little bit because hell, just the prelims last week, what, 5-1 in the prelims, underdogs. Week before that was another underdog run.
Yeah.
So it's like, can we bet on any underdogs? When is this streak ending, ladies and gentlemen? Because then all of a sudden it's gonna be boom, 10 straight favored. That's how it works in the game sometimes. You just got to kind of play the dice. What have we rolled yet, my ladies and gentlemen? Perfect. Moving on to this next lightweight bout. Elvis Brenner, 16-5, coming up against Esteban Ribovics, 14-2. I see more than likely Ribovics here. Famous knockout from him throughout his career is when he knocked out Terrence McKinney round one, 37 seconds back in 2024. Looked good against Daniel Zellhuber, but both of them were kind of pretty much the same style. When you look at Zellhuber and Ribovics, definitely want to stand, definitely both throwing a lot of kicks. Came out decision on that. Lost a really close decision to Nasrat Haqparast earlier this year in March, which was a really crazy fight too. Both of them throwing over 100, almost 150 strikes, significant strikes by Ribovics. Ended up losing the fight. Split decision. Do you think Elvis Brenner is going to be able to give problems to Ribovics like Nasrat did?
I don't think that Elvis Brenner will present much problems to Rybovics. I think, although Elvis Brenner has had a couple of knockout wins in his last five, he's primarily a grappler.
Yeah.
He's going to try to get on the inside. He's shorter than Rybovics, and Rybovics kicks hard. Now, let me tell you guys something. If you've never felt the kick when you're trying to grab a leg for a takedown, it does not feel good, man. If it lands in your stomach, it takes the wind out of you. If you're reaching for the leg and it hits your fingers, they get all jumbled up, man. It can hit your elbows. It just keeps you from not wanting to get that distance and shoot inside. It's really discouraging. So I think if Elvis Brenner feels one of those kicks from Ribovics coming in, trying to set up his game plan, is going to discourage him. He's going to figure out how to get inside. He is a dog. He's going to probably try to make it dirty. He's probably
Mm-hmm.
going to
His best bet.
swing some punches and everything there. But I certainly think how hard Ribovics kicks, which we saw in his last fight, is going to discourage Brenner from getting in on the takedown. And ultimately, he's going to turn it. He's going to have to make it ugly, Brenner will be. And I think Ribovics will pick him with that.
And I mean, truthfully, Ribovics takedown defense is 63%, but really you look who he's fought, Hawk Perost, Zellhuber, Terrence McKinney knocked him out, Kirk before that. They really weren't wrestlers. So they really weren't shooting too many takedowns on him. So really his takedown defense is kind of untested. But it's not like Brenner has amazing takedown defense. He just lost to a roll by in a decision, got knocked out by Joel Alvarez, where he was 0 for 5 also in takedowns. And he was 3 for 6 against the roll by, which is actually pretty impressive. But it just didn't matter on the feet. And the way that Ribovics is going to strike on the feet compared to old roll by is going to be different levels of class. Like you just said, the way he throws his kicks doesn't matter if you block it, you don't even want to block it.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be like that. Kind of how Zellhuber was just the other day. Yeah, he did take a loss, but he still looked great on his feet, and those leg kicks were just immaculate.
And you look at like Said Nurmagomedov, man. You go to your local wrestling class, and they're going to teach you to sprawl, and they're going to teach you to shove the head down. In MMA, the best defense for a good shot takedown is a knee right up the middle,
Right.
and Ribovics is probably going to time that well.
Yeah, I'm looking for Ribovics here, probably with a beautiful knockout inside the distance, I would say more than likely, because Elvis Brenner's not gonna. He's either gonna come forward and catch it and make it dirty, or Rybovic's gonna pick him apart the whole time, and third round's gonna look really ugly for Brenner.
Mm.
That's my thought on that.
All
Moving on to your co-main event for UFC in the Apex this Saturday, Matusz Rebecki, 20-2, taking on Chris Duncan, 13-2, the comeback Lil King. You can only have so many lives in the UFC, man. And Duncan kind of used a couple of them in his last fights, catching a late submission. I don't think he can stop Rebecki from moving forward and playing into Rebecki's game about staying in tight, getting the takedown. But Duncan's really good on the ground, too. This is a really interesting one. This is my hardest one to break down this week, Lee, because Duncan's been a live dog for 3 last fights and ended up pretty much pulling it off.
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
think
that's the thing.
Rebecca's going to let go of that grip in this fight and let Duncan take advantage of those particular positions? Do you think Rebecca's cage awareness is better than previous opponents from Chris Duncan has faced?
Well, that's the thing
Like
is
Masenic.
you hear the consensus argument for Chris Duncan this weekend, and everybody says the same thing. He's got come from behind. He's come from behind because he's come from behind. What's the common denominator there? You got to be behind to come from behind.
Yeah.
And is Mateus Rebecki somebody that you really want to find yourself behind with? Because if you can't come from behind, then you're in a world of problems, which we see with Oral by. Rebecca can certainly present those to you. I mean, he's what, four in his last five. His only loss is to Diego Ferreira, who put on a clinic we
Clinic.
did not see coming that night. And ultimately, he's overhand left wins. He's got submission wins. I certainly think Chris Duncan is going to have his hands full, and ultimately, Chris Duncan does have the skill set to finish this fight. Like,
He
I mean,
does.
Senik was no joke. Oki's no joke. Ash Moose was a particularly tough fight. However, he's gonna want to get going early. He's gonna want to. He's definitely not going to want to find him picking reads 2.5 minutes, even 3 minutes the first round. Because if you don't know where you're going, or if you're not going to be able to establish something that Rebecca's thinking about that far into the fight, I think you pretty much lost it there with them.
Yeah. And you kind of look, even looking back at Vucetic, he came in, had a great fight, and pretty much got fraud checked against Chris Duncan. One round king. So really that win over him, what does that really earn you? I mean, even his loss to Manuel, that's Manuel Torres, correct, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, rear
Manuel
naked choke.
Torres is a straight killer.
Yeah, we friggin' knocked out Drew Dober. Drew Dober didn't know what he was for.
Yeah, so I'll give him that loss. But like
Yeah,
you said, when you're behind, you're behind. And Rebecca, he's not going to be the type to really slow down either in the later rounds. His style plays in. He's really good at his gas tank. Yeah, he has become a punching bag here and there, but that's just the way he fights. He keeps walking forward, doesn't matter. And I just feel like it's just going to overwhelm Chris Duncan this time, and he's not going to have that breather pocket to make that comeback.
yeah. And then you look at Oral Bai's win over Musayev, that Kimura victory back in June. And for him to dominate a guy like Musayev that's got almost 30 professional fights under his belt, and for Rebecca to have that kind of fight that he did with Oral Bai speaks to him. Plus, I mean, Oral Bai came in with victories over Brenner, Medic. He's tearing through, and for Rebecca to have that one on a scorecard looks pretty good. So Duncan definitely has the ability to do. We've seen him; he's has the finishing power. He's got the submission prowess. However, he's got to inflict that on Rebecca immediately. It's got to be a threat. It can't.
Yep.
It's not going to get this one from behind.
Yeah, I'll be taking Rebecca in this co-main event in Vegas, looking at a minus 205 right now. Duncan coming in at plus 170, but those are not high enough odds for me to even think about taking Duncan. And we get to your main event, ladies and gentlemen. Little bit of a switch up, but we still get a banger here. Tatsuro Taira, 16 and 1, coming up against Hyung Sung Park, 10 and 0. I think it's gonna be a one-way street. I don't know if Hyung Sung Park is ready for this level of competition. Tatsuro Taira coming off that loss against Brandon Royval, getting wins over Perez before that, Hernandez, Shirez, Aguilar, looking great. Let me look back here real quick against this fight. Kind of got manhandled. Somehow still got 6 out of 15 takedowns against Brandon Royval. I just feel like Tatsuro Taira is gonna Hyungsung Park's gonna want to come in here and wrestle big time. But I don't know if he's gonna be able to do that against Tatsuro Taira. Do you think he's probably gonna cause more problems than I'm figuring out here? But I think that I keep forgetting Young Sung Park was going to fight next week, y'all. So don't forget that. So he has been in training camp. So that's what really makes this fight interesting, Lee. What's your thought?
The consensus was that Carlos Hernandez was going to come out and basically mollywop Hung Sung Park in the last. I mean, Hernandez was, not a high favorite in terms of odds, but in terms of everybody in our community, they really thought a majority of them thought Hernandez was going to win that fight, and Hung Sung Park came out and he got a finish. Now, statistically, this year guys that are coming off of the contender series have not done that well.
No.
However, guys that are coming off that road to the UFC tournament have absolutely obliterated the scene, man. They have a high win rate statistic of those tournament winners. And that's exactly what Sung Young Park is. He's coming from the road to the UFC. You've seen guys like Rong Shu, man, where he beat Cody Steele. That's another example of that is a very, very tough tournament to win. So, given that alone, given Tatsuro Taro's loss, I really like Park's chances here. He's at a 3-1. I don't think the 3-1's correct. I think that line needs to be a little bit closer. And when you just see discrepancies like that, ultimately, I'm taking them because I think the book is absolutely wrong on this. I think Park has a great argument. He's gonna wrestle, but he's gonna scramble. He's not going to be afraid in not getting the first takedown with Park. He's not going to be discouraged to shoot again and again and again. If he gets rocked, he doesn't seem like he's gonna get to surge. He's gonna go after and after and after that. So it's just whether or not um, Taira can keep him on the end of his punches and catch one that ultimately wobbles his bell. But even if he gets wobbled, he's still shooting. He's still trying to find you to the ground. So I really like Park's chances in this more than they're giving him credit for.
I agree. It's pretty a lot wider in the odds also. And what people give. I mean, he was training to fight Steve Earseg August 9th. That's in 1 week. So it's not like he's coming in off a couch or just not in training camp, wasn't ready to compete against some of the top level competition the UFC has to offer. Steve Earseg has had a couple fights lately, but even Tatsuro Taira versus Steve Earseg, who do you take there? Like, what type of different styles are different between them? Both of them can throw on their feet pretty hard, throwing bombs, can wrestle, can scramble. And Park's been getting his mindset ready for that pretty much particular matchup is Tatsuro Taira's style also.
Yeah. But going back to the point of the contender series versus road to the UFC, like the contender series, there's still arguments every night where you see those every Tuesday where it's still striker versus grappler or grappling specialist or a striker. When you see these guys coming from the road to the UFC out east, from South Korea, from China, from Thailand, and everything, man, these guys are MMA fighters and they have the craziest wrestling pedigree that I've seen in quite some time for the lower weight divisions. They're just aggressive, aggressive, aggressive. They can strike, they can eat shots, and they're going to chase, 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 chase until they get ultimately a hold of you and get you down to the ground. Like there's very little backup in them, and there's very little discouragement. So I think Tara is going to have to put quite a good striking game. He's going to have to find a way to stay on his feet, which he certainly can do. But I think he has a lot more on his plate with Park than the sports books are giving Park credit for.
Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, truthfully, I would say from I've seen from Park, he actually probably does strike better than Amir Albazi does
Yeah,
on the feet. So Dyer's definitely got to look at that for now. I mean, he does have some great, even back on, fought Shannon Ross UFC Fight Night back in 2023. Carlos Hernandez got him in a rear naked choke round one. Not too much to go off there. But he also does have good wins from his feet. And it's just not all wrestling. And he does have the submission game also. So really, Tyra has the whole package here to fight against when he almost didn't kind of have to train too hard for being on the feet with Amir Albazi. So definitely makes this very interesting. I'm going to stay away from this one and
I
just
wouldn't even
enjoy it. I don't like
Plus,
these last fights that come in last second, but
I wouldn't even say it's world class striking with Park. He's just
no.
in
Yeah,
there constantly. He's not afraid to get hit. He's not afraid to get knocked out. And he knows he has the ability to take you down. And he knows that he has the gas tank to last 10 million rounds. And
yeah,
they're like, gonna go, he's gonna go all night. So in that, he's gonna stand in the pocket. He's not gonna be afraid of getting hit. And that'll land you strikes, even if you're not the greatest striker.
I agree. I'm actually going to take Taira in this main event, though, just so y'all know my prediction. Who you got, Lee?
I'm going with Park on the other end of this. We're
Fuck
gonna
yeah. Let's do it, baby. Hope we
go
get it.
BK versus LK. We got Park
We
first.
shall see. It's going to be a good one. What a great matchup. Good job on the UFC of pulling this main event back together. That is your UFC Vegas breakdown for this Saturday. Make sure you check out our bar Winnable. It's in the links almost everywhere, and it's going to be in this video somewhere. I started putting it in it. Winnable.com/fight time caps. Anything special else you got, Lee?
Boom. We also got, if you guys, we are Fight Time Network, and every week, although we do the podcast mainly centered around the UFC, guys, we are MMA fans as a whole, and there
Facts.
are some good cards coming up this weekend. We've got the PFL card. I think there's a Cage Warriors card. Oh, sorry, there's a one championship card. So we've
Yep.
got PFL. We've got one championship, guys. It's MMA all the time. It's Fight Time Network.
Get it. See y'all next week, baby. Fight Time Network.